potential for greatness lives within each of us. I dare. My name is Nicky Dare. I Dare was born of personal hardship, triumph, and the desire to succeed. I Dare, the acronym for integrity, of diversity, adaptation, resilience, and empowerment, is the hallmark of my life, derived from learning to evolve through difficult circumstances. Growth experiences necessarily result from these challenges. Without the obstacles, we never would know the true meaning of success or feel the exultation of triumphing over adversity. My personal mission, therefore, is to help you encounter your purpose and live your best life by unearthing your inherent potential and finding joy in the journey. I did, and so can you. It's about personal empowerment and unlocking your inner potential. I Dare, therefore, is a way of life. Please join me to discover your inner potential by sharing some of our own challenges. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening and joining me today. Let's make it a blessed, joyful week this week. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us at Nicky Dare Radio, heard worldwide by millions of listeners, with your lovely host, Ms. Nicky Dare. Our podcast, hosted by Nicky Dare, is your home for education to safety and survival, leadership and inspiration. Nicky Dare is the founder of I Dare Inc., a registered 501c3 with its mission to educate and mobilize resources for preparedness and sustainability. I Dare is a grassroots credo and personal mission based on its pillars of excellence: integrity, diversity, adaptation, resilience, and empowerment. Ms. Dare's personal mission is to help you encounter your purpose by unlocking your inherent potential and finding joy in the journey. Nicky Dare is the published author of The Audacity of Veracity, a columnist, Women in the Field of Western Outdoor News, California's publication of Fishing and Hunting. Ms. Dare is a certified firearms instructor in rifle, shotgun, and handgun, RSO, Range Safety Officer, and CERT, Community Emergency Response Training Member, a FEMA certified training, women's advocate, transformational mentor, and a seasoned BPR change management consultant since her early 20s in transforming companies, and decades later she is reinventing her purpose. Nicky Dare's life has been spent passionately in helping others going through transformation, both personal and professional. And now, here's your lovely host, Ms. Nicky Dare.
we can start, can we? Are you ready? Thank you so much. I know that we juggle the timing, previously in our email back and forth. And I thank you so much for just contributing your time to doing this. It's so important that we women let our voices heard, and promoting ourselves and businesses and everything, collaborating together. Okay, so we can start. All right, being able to transform through communication by amplifying your leadership and influence. Not to mention that this is within your purpose and passion that you're doing this. I personally think this is super important. With purpose and passion, we know we can achieve great things, not just alone, but also together. Aloha guys, dan, bonjour, buenos dias, selamat pagi. I'm Indonesian, so I gotta speak that, right? How you guys are doing? Hopefully well. Thank you so much for joining us again this morning on WETalk podcast. Our goal is empowering women to break through their limiting beliefs and achieve their personal as well as professional goals, making their voices heard. I am Nicky Dare, your host. Welcome to another inspiring session with us here. And this morning, I am basically, have this lovely guest. I just had to chat a little bit with her before we went air, from British Columbia, who's turning her passion into empowering and giving back through knitting. She owns a company called Smashlee Stitches, specializing in all things knitting, which includes custom-made hand knit items, knitting pattern design, and educating about the process of how to do this. Recently, she also released an ebook and learn to knit course. It's called Knitting 101 and How to Knit Like a Badass. And the key focus of the course is to make knitting super cool and appeal to those who might not otherwise have considered learning the craft of knitting. To me, that is so just super cool. Let's meet our lovely guest, Ashlee Lackovic. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Hi, Ashlee. Perfect. How are you doing, my dear?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm okay. And you're in British Columbia, yes?
Yeah, right in the mountains where it's all snowy and cold.
We shouldn't be complaining here in California because
no.
I know we shouldn't be. We shouldn't even be telling you. It's horrible here in California. We just had our second day here, sunny sky, blue sky, and everything. And it is a little bit nippy, but we're complainers here. But hearing you guys on the East Coast or in British Columbia, all snowing, pouring down in the mountain, don't feel bad
beautiful.
For us.
It's beautiful, but you don't want to go outside.
I can imagine that you're into like an outdoor like myself, snowboarding maybe, or even skiing, enjoying the mountains.
I used to snowboard. When I first moved here, I started snowboarding and I loved it. I got all my gear. I decked out in pink, and then I fell all the time. So I gave that up pretty quickly.
I know. I remember last time. Oh my gosh, it was 8 years ago. I just bought me one of those Morrow, I think whenever the first almost going out, and I bought it, the snowboard board, brand new, and then let's go to the local mountain here. It was February 14th, Valentine's. So we went to the local mountains, like man-made snow. I fell on my, my tush, and it really hurt. It's okay to fall. It's okay to fall on real snow when it's really deep, but this is like really thin snow, and it was man-made basically. So I said, I don't know. So it's still sitting, hanging over there, and I looked at it this morning, and I said, should I not? Because we're dumping snow right now too in the local mountains.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, if there's ice underneath the snow, it really, really hurts. But
oh yeah, no kidding. I know. I felt it for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, you do. You totally do.
All right, my dear. Let's dive into this. I like to start the show instead of. I know that you've got a lot of accomplishments. I can imagine, and then all of your accolades and everything like that. I believe that everybody has a background story to which lead them to, to following their purpose and passion in life. So I know the background story is what shape us, who we are today, basically, a lot of us, and then making that selection, choosing the professional career. So, tell us something about that, about your background story that you represented who you are today.
Well, it's funny. I've always been a very creative person. So I've always, even as a kid, I was constantly writing music or drawing or designing something or cutting my Barbie doll's hair or something like that. Like I was always really creative. But the other side of that is that I was also really anxious. So I wouldn't talk to a lot of people. I was very shy, and just kind of like, I had friends, but I had a very close group of friends. I wasn't super popular. But I was a city girl too. That's the other thing. And I kind of had this plan for my life when I was like becoming a teenager. I was going to go into music, and then I moved from the city and I moved to where I live now. And I got really bored because it's a mountain town. There's nothing here except snow. And
get your boards out. Get your boards out.
That's when I started snowboarding also. But I was kind of looking for that thing where I could like be creative and that I didn't have, that wouldn't make me too anxious. So like music, it's great to do music, but like it at the time, it kind of pushed my anxiety level too far, right? So I couldn't really sing, I couldn't really DJ, I couldn't really do any of that. And it got really, I just became a really super anxious person. So I had a friend, my one friend in this town that I had never been in before. She dragged me to a knitting class. And I said, I don't want to go. Like, I'm not into knitting. I'm not into, like, that's for grandmas. Like, I don't want to do that.
Right. Knitting, hell no. I'm a city girl. No way. I'm going to get my board. So it's funny. I got like this pink ball of yarn and these really long needles, and I went to this knitting class, and I was nervous. I was so nervous because there was all these women there, and they were all different ages. I knew none of them. And like I said, I had anxiety really bad. So I spent 3 weeks not talking to anybody at this knitting group. I just sat there and tried to learn and had a really difficult time learning to knit. And part of that probably was the anxiety. But I went on YouTube and I was trying to learn that way. And then finally one day it clicked and I figured out how to knit. And I was so excited and so happy and not so bored anymore. And so I just kept at it. I kept knitting and knitting and knitting and knitting and knitting. And then one day I realized that I'm more social. I'm not as anxious as I used to be. I'm happier and I'm creating these wonderful things. So it's like part of my creativity is playing into this as well. And I was shocked and surprised, and everyone around me was shocked and surprised that I was doing this thing, that I was sitting there knitting like a grandma all day, but loving it. Right. And so I started posting kind of like my creations on my Facebook, just my personal Facebook. And I had people like messaging me, can you make that for me? And I was like, really? Because like looking back now, they weren't even that good of stuff. Like my level of knitting wasn't quite where it's at now, but people wanted it. And then I realized this could be a business. And my creativity started to go into overdrive, and I started making a website and posting my creations and going on Etsy and selling them and getting really successful at it really fast. And in this time, I also was getting married. I had kids, crazy, like my life was happening. And I realized that it's not, knitting's great, and knitting stuff for people is great, making creations and custom orders are great, but you can't knit for 12 hours a day and have that be a super successful business and not tire yourself out. So I started thinking about how could I make this a profitable business that's something that still honors my creativity and I still get to play with yarn. And then I realized I could design. So I started designing my own patterns. And from there, I got published in magazines, got published in blogs, started writing for knitting magazines. And from there, kind of just thought that, you know what, this would be really cool if I could teach people how to do this and tell my story.
tell my story a little bit and say like, hey, this also helped me with like my anxiety. And I'm not 100 years old. You know, I'm now in my 30s, but at the time I was in my 20s. And just, you know, like, I'm not your average knitter, but how many people could this like benefit that don't even know about it yet? That
Absolutely.
are refusing to try it because it's like an old craft.
Well, I mean, it's a win-win for everybody, for yourself, and then it's a therapeutic. I mean, you obviously found that niche through knitting to help you discover yourself for one, and then also to, you know, to heal. It's a healing process for you. And then now that you're making that passion, converting that passion into more a money-making career, which is awesome. It's a win-win overall for you. I mean, I congratulate you that, because how many people out there, that's my next question. How many people out there, your age, for example, doing what you're doing? Who's your competitor out there?
Well, there are some. I mean, the funny thing is when you start actually openly talking about it, and saying, like, posting your stuff, you kind of have two groups of people. You have groups of people that are never going to try it, and they love hand knit stuff, but they're never going to knit. They swear up and down they're not going to knit. And then there's people who are like, yeah. And then there's people that are like, oh, well, I crochet or I knit, you know, every day after work. And you realize that person's 19 years old or 25 years old, or, you know, so like people come out of the woodwork and they say they
absolutely.
And the other thing that happens is I'll sit there and I take my knitting everywhere. So I'll knit at parties, I'll knit at like bars, I'll knit
that's so cool. That's
in
cool.
the car. Yeah. And you'll have people come up to you. Like, it is the best opener ever, because people will come up to you and they'll say, oh,
yeah,
what are you
absolutely.
making? Or, oh, my grandma knits, or, oh, I knit. And it like makes this amazing conversation, and you get to relate to people on a whole different level. Yeah.
Make sure that you have your business cards and say, oh, by the way, I do this
Exactly.
and do this. You know, I educate people how to knit. And that's awesome.
Started doing
my ebook, yeah. Right.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, completely. It is so important to build that solid foundation of your self-awareness, of self-love, because you're finding that through, you know, through the healing process, through your journey, Ashlee, from the young self, as, you know, as we are still growing, evolving, you know, we do learn. We're still learning process every day, right? What comes out of this and everything like that. It's such an empowering, very compelling story. Tell me a little bit also about your the ebook, the How to Knit 101. What is it? Knit like a badass. I thought that was really awesome. I saw that.
So I started that probably, now it would be 1.5 years ago. The idea has been there for, I've been knitting 10 years. So the idea has been there for probably about 5 of those years. And it was something that I thought was, I'd have to knit 20 years before I was able to do it. And I wanted to teach people how to do this in a way that could honor all learning styles. So like, I don't learn like everyone else learns necessarily. Like in a knitting group, it was a little more difficult for me to learn because I kind of like think about things backwards, I guess. So I needed like hands-on, I needed visual, and I needed kind of written instructions as well. So I started writing the book to kind of help people that maybe couldn't learn in a traditional setting. And in doing that, I realized that I wanted to kind of make a whole course about it. So that's why it's called Knitting 101. The Knitting 101, How to Knit Like a Badass. This version of it is the very basics of learning how to knit. So it takes you from like casting on is what we call it, when you put the yarn on the needles, all the way to making a full-fledged project. And writing it was quite the experience on its own, but it was something that I really, really, really felt pulled to do, and actually quit halfway through the book. That was really...
That's okay. We all gone through that. You know, it's like, oh, should I do this? So we self-doubt ourselves, but then we need to keep going. So what inspired you to continue on at that point when you said, I don't want to do this again, I quit?
Well, so it was December, not this past December, but December last year. I basically was like, I'm done. I'm going to finish up the things I have contracts for, and then I'm finished knitting. Smashlee Stitches, as it stands, is dead. I'm going to close it down. I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm just going to fade into,
Fade into the woods, fade into the mountains with the snow, right?
Exactly. No one will know. And I had some friends that knew about it, and they basically knew that I was writing the book and said, okay, well, you should probably at least finish the book before you fully quit. And I'm like, no. And I think I had like 10 pages left to write.
Oh, my dear, you should finish it. Yeah.
And so it took a lot of talking to, it took a lot of phone calls. It took a lot of people just like shaking me, like, Ashlee, like, stop, just get out of your own head, get back to what you were doing. And it wasn't just writing the book. I wrote the book. It's got like pictures for every concept that I'm teaching. So a crazy amount of pictures. It's like over 100 pages. It's got a YouTube video for each section of the book, so that not only are you getting the written instructions, but you get to see it visually done as well. And you get to watch that video over and over and over again. So I had created this complete course and was really close to releasing it and decided I didn't want to. But yeah, just having those friends around me and really being conscious of what I was surrounding myself with. So the things I was watching on TV, the podcasts I was listening to, the people I was following on social media,
those are your support system. Those are your support system.
Yeah.
Resources,
to finish the 10 pages, I had to block all negativity out. And it kind of just like super focus and just write. And once I finished it, I was like, okay, it's done. I'm still quitting though.
That you're determined to do.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And then I had one of my friends look at it, and she's like, Ashlee, you can't. So together with her, I picked out a release date for the book, which was my birthday. And we made this big like celebration about it, and like Smashlee's back, and because I hadn't been posting for a while, and made this awesome party kind of online.
Comeback. Right. A comeback presence and visibility.
Yeah, and released it. My mom bought the first copy because that's what moms do.
Of course.
Of course. And then after that, I started getting people actually started to buy copies of it and started to watch the YouTube videos and wanted my help knitting. And I was like, what? Like, you think this will happen, but you don't really expect it to happen. So like the first time I sold a copy to someone I didn't know, I like had a little freak out moment and, grabbed my champagne, drank some, had a little cry, and just realized that I'm glad I didn't give up, because had I truly been stubborn enough to say this isn't going to get released, none of the stuff that's happening to me now would have happened.
Exactly. You keep on going, and then that's your determination. A lot of people quit. Before, right before it is supposed to be, their accomplishment.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad that you didn't quit.
Yeah,
I'm glad that you have a very solid foundation. Not a solid, but you have some people who are really, really believe in you. When you don't believe in what you do, and then there are people, really strangers, believe in you. I bet that felt so good, especially the first testimonial, and say, hey, you touch one person of your what you do in your product and services, what you're trying to message, the content. You touch one person, that just like you feel so grateful. I don't know to describe that. One person just bought my book and then wrote me a nice letter after she finished the book. That's just, to me, that's like gold. There's no words to describe that. You know what I mean? It's like,
absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And it's really awesome because since then, so it's been 6 months since it's been released, and I am getting messages almost daily about how the book has helped, how the book has inspired people, how the work I do in schools now, and I'm sure we'll get into that, but the work I do in schools and community programs and my Brandon Beanie pattern, how all of that has inspired them and is helping people. And I'm getting messages, oh, I have anxiety too, Ashlee, like, you know, thank you for talking about it. Thank you for, you know, doing this and promoting what you're promoting. So, and every day I just like am blown away that anybody would ever pay attention, but I'm so grateful when they do. So grateful.
So what are your personal advices to other women out there in regards to your journey of success and, you know, simply following this passion to become the purpose in life? I mean, we hear about self-love a lot now these days, self-awareness and believing in yourself. Some of the things that you think that you can share with us, with a woman out there.
I think the most important thing is really, like I said before, be mindful about what you're paying attention to. Because I think women, but probably everybody in general, we are a product of our environment. And if you have negativity in your life, it's going to stop you from possibly pursuing something that you're meant to do. So being mindful of, you know, who is your friend group? Are they supporting you? Are they raising you up? What are you watching? Are you watching the news? Maybe if that's bothering you, stay away from that and turn a podcast on. Or
like this one.
Yeah, exactly. Self-development. I do so much self-development, like reading and audiobooks and podcasts, all of that stuff. Just consume my brain with it. And once you do that, all the negative, crappy stuff that happens, you start to overcome it. And as you overcome it, you can see things clearer. And when you can see things clearer, that's when your dreams really start to come in alignment. So that's my best advice, is just really be mindful of what's around you and what you're allowing into your space and your energy.
I think that's a very, very, you know, valid. I mean, everybody needs to hear that. It's so true. Like focus with clarity. What are your biggest challenges as a woman entrepreneur there in your local community to have a business like this? I mean, I'm hearing that you have a lot of support system, friends, and, you know, close people that can support you, what you do in business. A lot of women don't, you know, in some other countries, a lot of women don't have that luxury, I should say. But with the social media right now, I think there are a lot of outreach groups and everything. Tell us about that. Share your thoughts on that.
Well, I think if you don't have that support system, and yeah, a lot of people don't, you can find it online 100%. You just have to keep looking and keep exploring. And for me, like, I'm very lucky and blessed to live where I live and to have the family and friends that I have. But you do have that negativity that still comes back, and you do have pushback, and you do have people that are kind of like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? And you just have to drown those voices out. And I think for me, being a woman, it's really hard because I'm extra sensitive and I'm extra emotional sometimes. And so I can those voices come in and they can break you down a little bit, you know? So that's when I've got to go full steam ahead with, like what I was saying before, is that then I'm like, okay, let's stop listening to that. Let's start putting some positivity back in here, you know? And really, if you can't find it in your local community, go online, because it is 100% there.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned that you, I want to go back to this before I forget. You mentioned that you had some kind of exposure in some magazines out there. How was that to you?
When I first did it, it was funny because I realized that you could do it just from Googling. Like, I just would Google, like, how can you make knitting a job, right? And
Wow.
I saw that you could design patterns, and I was like, okay. So I ripped open a knitting magazine, and I saw that there was like the publisher there, and I saw that they would accept submissions from people. And I was like, okay, well, I've only like designed patterns kind of like on the down low. I never published or anything. So what I did is I would Google like examples of proposals and of design proposals. And I like made up, I'm not a very good drawer, but I made up like this little sketch of a scarf, I think was the first one I did, and did a little like proposal about what I wanted, knit a little swatch, put it all in, and just bombarded magazines. So I would just like submit, like if there was one submission, I'd submit 10 times to that one person and hope that they would just be like, okay, like maybe we should pay attention to her. And
Persistency, right?
Yeah, consistency. And just being slightly annoying. So
well, not really. I mean, we see your quality traits here: tenacious. You're very tenacious, determined, and you've got the persistency and zero to it. Those are great qualities, by the way.
Yeah. I guess when you put it like that, yeah. But so I just like kept submitting, and I was like, the weird thing is I was really slightly insecure when I started doing it. But when I got rejected, it didn't matter. So when I got the rejection letter back for some like major magazines, I was like, you know what? It's okay, because one day you're going to say yes to me. And
go girl. I'm
right? You can say no
one.
now, but prices are going to go up because
I was going to say, now I'm going to charge you $10,000 now.
Right. So I just, when I got that first acceptance letter, I was like shaking. I was like, oh my God, this is really happening. But the downside of that was that's when the anxiety kicked in, because I was so determined to make this happen. I hadn't thought of the next step. I hadn't thought of actually knitting and designing the pattern. So when I actually had to do that, I did it, and it just became like it became like a job, and it was awesome. And I was like, wow, I can do that. What's next? Like, I didn't know that I could be published in a magazine. I never thought about that before. And yeah, it was an awesome moment. And it continues to happen. I still get published every now and then. I'm not pursuing it as much as I used to, just because I'm kind of more on the mental health and giving back vibe right now. So yeah.
So are you working with some of the outreach programs in your local community right now currently with, maybe nonprofit or anything like that? Or is it something totally different way of giving back?
Well, it's two things. The first thing I'm doing is I do it online. So I run a Knitting 101 How to Knit Like a Badass Facebook group. And on there, I teach people to knit, and we talk about mental health. I'm very open about my thoughts on it. And from there, I also work with, right now, just my local community and kind of like outside my local community. So I go into schools, high school programs, elementary schools, and talk to them about knitting and mental health. Going into some of the more at-risk kids, those kids, I love those kids. Going into any at-risk program where the kids suffer with anxiety, where they're, the outcasts. Those are some of the most creative, wonderful kids on the planet, and they're the ones that take to knitting really well.
Yes.
And I'm really glad that now schools are coming around to realize the value of this and the value of bringing in programs like knitting, like art, like music, and just realizing that there's a way to reach these kids. So I'll go into schools. I'm doing community programs. So I work with something out here called Anchors, which is the AIDS Society of the East Kootenays. And they do a lot of stuff with family, people anyone that needs help, homeless people, people with mental health issues. They're awesome. So I work with them quite frequently, and we do a mental health and knitting program with them. In the future, will be speaking in some mental health and knitting, or mental health conferences about knitting and what it has done for me. And I'm also going to be working with Mental Health Canada to start really bringing this mainstream and national, and hopefully international. So yeah,
it's absolutely. I mean, it's just not, there. I mean, this is epidemic everywhere. Around the world, right? We just talked about that this morning, as a matter of fact, on another session. But yeah, I mean, this is so compelling, Ashlee. This is just wow. Now what I've thought about, healing process through arts, through music, and everything. It's been there, for a long time ago in history, right? But knitting is just now becoming a trend, I should say. What are your thoughts on that? What do you say?
I think that it kind of goes through its peaks and valleys, It does have a very long and rich history, but I think it kind of became uncool for a while. And all of a sudden, we're kind of, the world, and I think society as general, is trying to just go back to our roots, go back to where we came from. And knitting is part of that. Knitting, other crafts, people are just wanting something tangible that they can work with.
Right. When you talk about all the healing ways or outlets or means to doing so, I mean, we see our veterans also as well, through, I want to throw this in. I don't know if I should include this group of people, but I've seen this through some of the programs that I, around in my community, like coloring, book coloring, as simple as that, or even painting, arts, something that they focus on that. And that is a true healing, help me out with this. Is this so?
Well, and it's interesting because a couple of years ago, I went to a therapist because I was having major anxiety issues, especially around like driving and things like that. And I went to a therapist and she said, do you want to color? Do you want to paint while we're talking? Like, what can you do? And I was like, well, can I knit? And she's like, you knit?
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, like, I'm cool with just like sitting and knitting and we can have a chat. And she's like, so you already got this then. You've already got it. You already understand that, like, there's a connection.
There's a connection to that. Yeah, the arts, the coloring, the painting. We've seen that already as a healing method, to those who are suffering anxiety disorders or, some kind of distress, some kind of issues, that they cannot overcome, basically. But then, yeah, I mean, I'm sure she said, knitting, knitting. Well, I am the queen of knitting. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how to knit like a badass.
Yeah, and once we got talking about it, I was like, oh, never mind. I got this. Like, I get it now. But it's interesting because even my own stuff, like, I still suffer from anxiety. It's not like knitting cures everything. But I've watched people go with like grief, for example. Even my own self. I had a cousin actually that died this past summer, and to get through that was knitting. Knitting is what helped me heal that. I've had other people who, suffered the loss of a baby, and knitting has helped them. People who have anxiety, depression, PTSD, everything. Like, it literally, I've had so many stories, addiction even, just something with your hands to make you not think about that thing that you're trying to avoid, And the cool thing about knitting is you're working with your hands, you're doing something, you can do that, and it becomes like a form of meditation. So you can be watching some show on Netflix, and then all of a sudden that thing that was bothering you 20 minutes ago has somehow worked itself out in your mind. And I don't 100% know how that happens, but it's like a working meditation, and it's like magic almost. It's phenomenal.
Right. And then all of a sudden you have some kind of product like a beanie. Let's talk about that. The beanie, knitted beanie.
Yeah, so the Brandon was my cousin who died, and he suffered some mental health and addiction issues. And when he died, it was really devastating to our family. To watch someone go through that kind of pain, and then watch those of us who were, mourning him, to see all the pain we were going through. It got me really thinking that, okay, I'm sitting here knitting to get me through this, but is there a way that I can make his life matter more than just a statistic that, oh, he died of like this, right? So I wanted his life to matter. And in doing that, I thought, okay, how can I make a legacy that will help people? How can I create this thing that I know, which is knitting, and how it's helping me, and how can I honor him as well? And I had this kind of beanie pattern sitting kind of, in my stuff. I wasn't using it for anything. I designed it years ago. And one day I just woke up and went, I know what I'm supposed to do now. And that was the start of the Love Project and Brandon Beanies, where basically I knit these beanies and I teach people to knit the beanies. And then we give them away to anyone who may need a little love. Like, it's like the beanie is a hug. So we're giving these beanies away to anyone. It could be homeless people. They could be going to shelters. They could be going to your neighbor who just lost somebody. Maybe they, you don't know what to do with them. You give them a beanie and say, hey, I'm thinking about you. I love you. Your life matters, that kind of thing. So using that, I've had people making beanies all over the world and just giving them away in the name of love and acceptance and, mental health and addiction and all of that. It's phenomenal.
Oh my gosh. So you started doing the Love Project since last year? So it's this new, basically, right?
Yeah. So I started doing it in September.
And it's just taken off.
Just taken off.
How does it work? Okay, go ahead and tell me.
So right now we're still like I said, this just started in September. So there's still some groundwork to be done with it. But right now, anyone that hits me up on social media and says, hey, I want a beanie, gets a beanie mailed to them, and for free. And I have myself or any of the number of people that I've taught to knit, basically knitting beanies, and we're either dropping them off at local shelters or mailing them out to people that are in need of a little bit of love, or maybe just need a beanie because they're cold.
Wow. So who's taking, that's part of your business, right? Whose cost is that on your?
Sometimes it's on me. Sometimes it's through, funding. I get a lot of donations of yarn and needles and stuff that makes me allowed to be able to. Yeah.
Right. So I can imagine that, because a lot of the local businesses want to also, support that concept, support the awareness as well. Wow. That's really amazing. I mean, I thought it was just a snowy mountain up there, right?
No, well, that's what happens when you're in a snowy mountain and you get bored.
Exactly. Your mind is constantly being creative, that creativity and determination and your tenacity and persistency, they're all is well-rounded that made you who Ashlee is. Like, okay, you're giving back. That is empowering, Ashlee. And hopefully this will resonate, and I'm pretty sure it is resonating to those who are listening out there on our podcast session right now. And I really am glad that, we talked about this. Now, any upcoming ventures besides, I know that you're working on your ebook, or you already have, and some of our upcoming ventures that you want to share with us.
Sure. So like I said, I'm working with Mental Health Canada over the next year. So there will be another edition of the book coming out probably the end of this year. That's going to be Knitting 101, How to Knit Like a Badass, but the mental health edition. So it's going to have a load of mental health tips and really make the connection between knitting and mental health, and resources, mostly for people in Canada, but eventually there will be a US and UK edition as well, to help people all over the world. And also my own social media, so mostly on my Facebook page and Instagram, the Beanie Project. So there'll be lots of stuff coming up with that. I'm doing lots of local events around British Columbia. And yeah, mostly that. There's so much. It's just every day there's like something new. Lots of learning to knit events. Yeah. And just trying to take this around the world.
Yeah. Right. I think you will do just fine and you will get there. I have no doubt about you, your determination and persistency. I know you're the girl that sent out thousands or hundreds, I should say, to one publisher, right? And then
well, yeah. And so it's funny because doing that now, literally having to talk to event planners and talking to, you know, the government, talking to like getting proposals and getting grants and stuff. Now all of that's like easy. It's like the design was preparation for all of this.
Absolutely. Living your life completely grounded with your own truth, as well as your beauty and power. And then you basically found, you know, through the process, what your passion really is, what the purpose in life is. How beautiful is that? This is what it's all about. That's why we, yeah. I want to say, ask you something. I know that we talked about the beanie. Do you have a sample of the beanie that you can show to the listener, I mean, to the audience? I know that we have a video here as well.
I don't have one right around me. I normally have like tons of them. I'll send you some pictures, but I have like yesterday, I was just at a school that I have been teaching them to knit since September. And every time I go in there, they're handing me 5 more beanies. So it's just amazing. Like it's basically just your basic ribbed beanie. It's an incredibly simple concept that anyone can wear it, like literally anyone. So it's, yeah, I'll send you some pictures.
Is it value? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's the value that you're, and the message, the content, the message is so super important. Again, that's why we're all here: collaboration, sharing, learning, rising together as a woman. You never know, Ashlee, you know, who's listening out there right now, and through the journey, through your compelling stories, you know, maybe someone else is missing piece or answers, you know, solutions. Like, wow,
Absolutely.
She's going through, right. So, if I may ask you, and then wanted, you know, somebody to refer you to your services, your ebook and everything like that, is there a website to go to? I know you mentioned about your Facebook, anything like that, your credential, social media. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you can go to my website, which is ashleelackovic.com, or you can go to Facebook, which is Smashlee Stitches, and then on Instagram, I'm just Ashlee Lackovic. Those are my 3 main places you can find me. And from there, you can get all the links to the YouTube video, the link to the book, how to get the book, and all my other stuff I'm doing.
Well, I mean, there's more books coming up, sounds like, and
yeah,
I can't wait to see your. Yeah, I know. I'm so excited because you can break it down to so many versions, and then what you're doing is really super important. You're reaching out to your local community first. You build that foundation, you support it, and then you're gonna get out to us, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's my plan. 2020 is US and UK for sure, and then, you know, Australia,
we're waiting.
all the other places. Yeah.
Well, we're waiting for you, Ashlee. Bring your snowboard also, all right?
Okay.
All right, we're running out of time. Thank you, Ashlee, for joining and sharing your inspiring story, which hope, you know, we all connect here and be able to, you know, learn more about what you do. You know what, after all, we women are, you know, we are the catalyst to greater things in this planet. I keep saying that in my podcast all the time. Yeah, we're a change agent. Like Ashlee, I mean, she never, like she said, she never stopped thinking, being creative, what to do. Well, how could I do this? Thank you for all you do and services that you extend to your community, to everybody online, to many by your healing process and methods of your authentically. And for our listeners, if you enjoy listening to this podcast, please do post and share this passion to yours. I'm Nicky Dare, your host. God bless. Thank you. You know what to do. Facebook it, like it, you know, all the fancy stuff that you do every single day out there. Get the word out there. It gets your soul, get the souls of your friends, loved ones, and others around you. Don't forget to subscribe and and join our community here also as well. I am Nicky Dare, your host. Please stay safe, stay vigilant until our next episode on WETalk. Collaborate, not competition. From my passion to yours. I really deeply want to say thank you, Ashlee, for coming on and be part of this podcast as well. Love you so much, and God bless. All right, see you soon, okay? Ah!
You have been listening to Nicky Dare's Radio, a podcast of sustainability with your host, Ms. Nicky Dare. To learn more, please visit Ms. Dare's websites, education.nickydare.com. Workshops on safety preparedness, situational awareness are available. Also available, the Transformational Coaching Series. For corporate and private group pricing, please contact us. She also offers both private and group classes in firearms training, handgun, rifles, and shotgun for individuals and families, and home invasion scenarios, and her other outdoor activities, and her passion for fitness and upcoming classes. Follow her on LinkedIn and her social media, Twitter, Instagram, Google+, Pinterest, and Facebook. Or simply watch her tutorial videos. You can subscribe to her YouTube channel, Nicky Dare. All about her books and inspirational quotes can be found on her website, books.nickydare.com. Check out her newest website, travel.nickydare.com, for all travel resources, savings, and tips. Her calendars, both of Living in Purpose and Passion, as well as her exclusive edition of Firearm Safety, are available for order on her website, nickydare.com. All of her broadcasts are available for free download on iTunes podcast Nicky Dare. For more details on opportunities for sponsorships and speaking engagements, please email us at education@nickydare.com. Join her next time, Living in Purpose and Passion. Our mission is to live a sustainable life. With your host, Nicky Dare.